talk about that. Is
Or
infinite
back up
growth,
in before
because
that.
that's a big but so then is there infinite growth? How would that be? Like infinite growth possible without exploitation?
Yes, it's personal. So we can grow infinitely as people because we don't consume resources to do it.
Right.
So if you're already consuming resources, and see this, the reason I say this, I think, I didn't realize this till just now, is this is part of my answer to like what went wrong.
Yep.
And it's somebody went, I want power. I want more of this. This is all fine and good, but I don't, somebody became dissatisfied with heaven that we had, and again, it's hard because some of it was good, like when we drink our water, we die, and so somebody figured out, how to treat water with technology and made our lives better, and people were dying of silly things like, I don't know, polio or. And somebody, medicine and technology figured out a way for that not to happen. So some of this stuff is good, and it's hard to tease apart, and it's hard to say when it's like a sin or a deviation from heaven and when it's not. But yeah, whatever I just said was related to what happened.
But right.
The need for infinite growth at a
personal level.
Well, but not at the personal level, but at some other level. Physical level where.
But that still begins then at the personal level,
Yeah,
right?
because we just suck at math.
Yeah,
it begins at the personal level, and I think you erroneously think you can translate it to, I can have more women or more corn or bigger houses or more kingdoms or more islands, or I don't even know. Like what the beginning.
So, dude, how do your kids feel? About stuff like that? Do they have like a take? It seems to me that more and more of the younger kids are like, no, I don't want the biggest house that costs so much money that my life miserable and stuff. Or am I wrong?
No, I think
I'm sure it's both.
Here, my armchair sort of theory about this is that they have lost faith in the idea of becoming super wealthy, all because they think it's going to be so hard just to make their ends meet. So I think their dreams of elaborate wealth are more like, I just want to get a job.
Yep.
And I don't know if that's just my kids, because I have this sort of like scarcity mindset when it comes to that sort of thing, like getting jobs to make, because I'm sort of giving up on that whole model, like that's not how it works. You just pursue happiness and figure it out. But yeah, so I think they still want stuff, but what they want is not extravagant. It's just a house, a car, a job.
Yeah, right. The desires or the needs, like it's more on the Maslow level of meeting the needs, and they don't have to be, like extravagant, right? And so I think that's a good way to think about it. It's like we see more and more that we don't need extravagance, and so people want. Well, to be more simple, but still like to meet all their needs. Like that's the thing, and it's like it's getting harder and harder.
And like you said, those things should be basic human rights. Now,
right.
What that subset of things is, I don't know, because I keep seeing this stuff as a landlord. I keep seeing this landlord hate going around, and I'm kind of on the fence because I understand their point, but it's sort of like. Housing should be a fundamental human right. Therefore, the wealthy landowners and real estate people should provide those things at a loss because they're a basic human right. Like, it's easier for me to sort of see we should do better with how we dispense food from the farm to the table over you guys ought to like pay for people to live. I don't know. So I don't know if housing, but certainly shelter would be a fundamental human right.
Yeah, right.
So the details are difficult, like how this happens. I get it, but I read somewhere recently, like, if that's not government's job, why do we have government? If government's job isn't to do exactly what we're saying, to take the limited resources and disperse them in such a way that it's egalitarian-ish, or dare I say fair, then why even have a government?
Yeah.
I mean, besides like law enforcement.
Yeah.
So anyway, it will be fun to explore that. What went wrong? What, if we're going to think about the way things used to be, why not think about what was good about human culture and how technology can help that without trading. So I feel like we traded, like what did I pay for this? The ability to sleep at night, the ability to connect with my kids, that somebody, that some bunch of people have to starve and, live terrible lives so that it can be made. I would gladly give it back.
Yeah.
if I knew. But those things aren't inherent in their use.
And then I always wonder on stuff like that, like, is it almost like we kind of have this, and I'm not saying that I don't do this myself, to a degree, but like, it's like, okay, well, what would, in heaven I could be with whoever, all the time.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, you really wouldn't like that, but
right.
That's beside the point. But, like, that's it. So it's like if you want to FaceTime one of your daughters, I mean, she might be in class right now, but if you want, you can. Yeah. We're right there. You know what I mean? And so we've got that. So sometimes I wonder, it's like, do we keep trying to make it where we have all the things all the time, right? You know what I mean, with us, because that's some sort of security for us or some sort of view of the way it should be. But then it doesn't do that, actually. Like,
right,
even though,
totally.
right, you know what I mean? It's
and
like,
especially if you put the cost involved, you may be like, ooh, that's not worth it.
Right.
Even though that's really cool and good and helpful and makes my relationships better. And this is what Nate Higgins and others call energy blindness. We don't really understand the trade-offs. We never do. And that's why that's the only way I can like make peace with coal barons is maybe they didn't really know the huge swath of damage that they were creating. Maybe all they saw was they're making people's lives better because the energy that they're making available makes all of our lives so much easier. And maybe it was really like good and what good intentions. I don't think that's true, but let's entertain that for a minute. Because they were blind to all of and not to use energy blindness in a confusing way. And then everybody else is blind in the fact that whatever we do, we go, this costs $100. We don't think about the fact that in order to make that product, there was a bunch of child labor laws broke in, or people suffered, or they were working for a dime a week. Plus, it took all this energy. It took all this oil and coal to run all that stuff. So really, the cost of that is this huge stack of natural resources and human resources and time and all these other things. But all we do is go, oh, it costs $100.
Yeah.
And that disconnect is like should be non-permissible. That should have been the end of it. It's like, oh, hold on. If this is what technology means, then we're not allowed to do it because you can't ignore. and now we're at a point where we're like getting ready to have to pay the piper, right? Some of these things we can deal with, like, oh, I don't care if my Old Navy T-shirt was made with child labor in Thailand. That's okay. I don't see it. No big deal. They'll still sell it. Although maybe we should have laws that makes that impossible. Mm-hmm. But eventually we're going to run out of the energy part of the equation. And we'll just, then what? So that's really interesting, is that we may actually have to start rethinking these decisions that we made.
Well, that's the thing that always just gets me just about that period is that
it's still working.
Yeah. We, what, like, you can't do it with a switch. Nobody's driving.
Yeah, right.
Nobody's driving a gas-powered car anymore. And plus all the
in like some several European countries, they're going to make you get rid of. You will not. They'll take it. I don't know what the penalty is, but you can't. You won't be able to do that anymore.
Well, and then I mean, right? I'm correct in saying, right, that so are they going to like an electric car?
I think there's just rules about. They're starting with the 80s cars that had no emissions. And all, they're like, nope.
Yep.
And I don't know if they're going, you can only drive full electric. That may be the long-term goal.
But I mean, that's not the zero-sum solution anyways, though, right? With electric, because of the battery.
Especially not lithium.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess another one. We think lithium is the solution to everything, but it's like, did we not learn anything?
Yeah, right.
You're doing the same thing.
Yeah. I get my biggest concern about all that is like, okay, so it's still, I mean, I guess if Europe is going to a day where they're doing it's to a degree like a switch, but there's a plan, but it's still not the zero-sum answer.
Yeah, no, there's still a huge energy.
Yeah. And what I'd be more concerned about is that are there solutions that we have been suppressed in the name of making money for a few select people? Like, is there technology that has been suppressed in the name of technology?
Like all of the alternative energy. Yeah. I mean, there's lobbies against that. I mean, sure.
Right. And that's more like, equally alarming or maybe more alarming because it's like, man, so, okay, it's not like having a car, like the idea of a car, right? The job of the car is fine.
Yeah. Like it sucks to have to walk everywhere.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
And we would do a lot less things and a lot less experience. But what if we can make that car where, ultimately even all the parts are, say, recyclable.
Yeah.
Right.
Or something. Yeah.
And there's no emissions.
Yeah.
I mean? Like, it's just
and
like,
my thing is,
you put water in it.
If we can make this and take pictures of Mars, I'm pretty sure we can do all of those other things.
Yeah, and that's the thing that gets me there and that's what, you kind of fear about, like the money control side of it, where, gas prices have been up this year, and I didn't like it either. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't helpful to me in my life to pay more money for gas. But at the same time, like, I know that it's like, well, there's a lot more problems with this gas to begin with, but why can't I have a car? Why can't I have a car that does whatever? And why can't I even have if I want a big truck, why can't I have a big truck that doesn't consume oil, gas, diesel, whatever? Why can't we make that? Because we can.
Yeah.
We can.
It's
now,
just not
that's
profitable.
It's not profitable. Maybe because it takes
nobody's going to pay the $50 million price tag or whatever.
Well, no, but I mean, is it? Yeah, but I mean, is it again with technology? If it's just getting suppressed and it's like, well, this is going to take my money away, so I'm not allowing this to be here. Like so many of the principles of the car would be the same anyway. So we already have that. It's just how to do it. Right. And again, I'm not saying I don't have the answer.
Well, and it's an incentive thing, right? I mean, because part of it is all those other. The status quo is incentivized.
Yeah.
You can come work for Toyota and we'll pay you to help us make better gas engines that are cheaper. That's the incentive, right? Instead of we're going to come work for Toyota and figure out a way to... But I think this is happening. Figure out a way to not use gas.
Yeah.
And that actually is happening. It's just so... Like you said, you can't flip a switch. Okay, I know that. But I don't think the switch should take 1,000 years either. Like, come on.
Yeah.
They gotta. That's my biggest thing. Is I'm just impatient because I don't believe the excuse of we can't change government. We can't change the school system. It's just too hard. It's too big. You can't stop burning coal because so many people are employed in the coal industry. And what are all the gas stations gonna do?
Yeah, see, and all that, though, that is BS, right? Because they could be... But so what should probably happen, if nothing else, is that, like, okay, well, you're going to get provided for, because we have all the resources to provide for you.
Well, yeah, that's true, too.
You're going to get provided for a period of time.
Right. We'll
you're going to make a transition to, whatever else.
It's like Mark Trent, he always used to say he'd always go buggy whips. And it's like, what are you talking about? He's like, when we made the transition from horse-drawn carriages to cars, the people that made buggy whips were screwed.
Yep, they were.
And it's like, that sucks.
Yep.
But I'm kind of okay with it.
Well, and that would be exactly where we pick each other up then.
Well,
right?
I know, like you just said, there are tons of ways to solve that problem besides just being like, oh, you're dead? Your family can't eat? Oh, well.
And because that always drove me crazy, even like with the fracking arguments, when they wanted to do fracking here in the county, it would be like, well, it's it's my job. And so it's like, well,
Yeah.
nobody wants other people to lose their job. Like,
yeah, that's not what I'm saying.
I mean, it might be maybe on a one-to-one basis. Like, well, I hope that person loses their job.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother issue.
Well, that's where I'm at. This is a very unpopular. And someone could do a podcast episode on this, but I don't think it's our jurisdiction. But if you can't afford to pay your laborers a living wage, you don't have a viable business model.
Yeah.
Sorry. You just get to have a business. Your business has to function within our pseudo capitalist, neo capitalist, whatever we call this thing, in order to be real. If the only way your business can be viable, given your business plan, is to not pay people enough, then you don't have an actual business. It would be like saying, I want to make fidget spinners and I'm going to sell them for $1,000 a piece, and then you go test the market and you find out people won't pay $1,000 for them. But yet that's your business model says your business won't work unless they'll pay $1,000. They won't. You don't be a business. It's the same thing. If you can't pay $25 an hour or whatever it is, because that's the biggest complaint I hear is that you're killing the small business, man. Blah blah. It's like I'm sorry. Not everybody gets to have. Like nobody wanted to do CrossFit. You're not going to be out on the street going, I want to have a gym and the government needs to give me money, because you just don't do it.
Yeah.
You don't get to play. It's that simple. And I think it's those kind of decisions that are not going to be popular. And there's a lot of power on the other side, probably in lobbies and crap, that's going to fight against it. But it just makes sense, given all the other rules we've agreed to.
Well, and it's probably true. I mean, the majority of the people that would be falling under that are actually in big box stores and stuff like that. Anyways,
it's not you.
I mean, which would actually open up all the small businesses again. Anyways, right?
It would be more like real capitalism.
Yeah.
Which is that's a whole nother.
Yeah.
But that's one of the fundamental problems in this shift, I think, is what has become capitalism is our choice of how to deal with trading money, whatever you call that, commerce. Like at some point, what they're saying nowadays is that we were never in a barter economy, that's not a real thing. Like everybody says, we used to just barter for things. It's like, that's not actually true. We used to be in a gifting economy. I went out and I got and I don't know if I believe this either because we don't know, but I like this. I went out and I killed a gazelle and I brought it back to the village and I went, everybody eats. And I'm giving you all this because I know that's how it works. And next time when John gets an antelope and I don't have anything, he's going to give it to me.
Yeah.
And that was the economy. You wore yourself out doing things for the tribe because you know that's how it works.
Yeah.
That's how things come back. And then eventually that stopped and somebody went, if you want a piece of this, you're going to have to give me whatever, a goat. And that's where so again, what happened? That's part of what happened. And I could go on forever. I don't know.
Right, yeah. Right, well, so, and that would have been related to then the transition from, this is kind of what you're saying about the way we were in good levels. Yeah, so, because of forager, nomad, right, to, what's next? Horticulture.
It's like hunter-gatherer to agriculture. If you want to blame it on something.
Yeah.
or establish a point in time is that everybody started growing crops because we figured out and domesticating animals.
Right. So because it went from forager to
here's a point.
Somebody talks about this specifically, but foraging to horticulture with a stick, agrarian with a horse,
right,
to industrial age.
And it's all that's energy, right?
Information age.
That's talking about your energy base,
right? And that's I think the question though is if we were into information age now, where are we going next?
That's interesting.
And I think that we're in basically for one is like the age of accountability, where it's like okay, because of the access to stuff, you are accountable for your behavior.
Instead, unlike the coal model,
more and more,
which is like rape away,
and,
because we're all kind of benefiting over here.
And I'm not, and so now I think the age of accountability though then leads directly to the understanding of forgiveness, because it's like, yes, we're going to hold you accountable, but also, you can be forgiven because you get to plug back in somehow.
Right, you didn't. We're not going to beat you up for the rest of your life based on things you've done in the past. We're going to give you the opportunity.
Yeah, your behavior has to be different. Behavior has to be different, yes. And that's a complicated thing, dude, because we talked about this in forgiveness.
It's like the forgiveness.
Only time will prove that.
Or
truly,
you can just really agree to move on.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to beat you up, but you got to quit doing it.
Right.
And we'll just hold each other accountable.
Yeah. So I kind of think that, and with the way, because did you look on something like eBay, Airbnb? Like, if you screw people on eBay, you're going to get a review, and less people are going to buy from you. And then anybody that's savvy enough is going to read through your things and make sure, if you have one bad one or whatever review, they're not going to necessarily not do just because you got one bad. But if you have a bunch of bad reviews, or if you screw somebody on an Airbnb, you're not going to rent your Airbnb.
It's the golden rule. It's just like the golden rule in your face.
And so I think that, that the age of accountability, it might be the age of accountability that's next. And where does that lead us to?
That'd be awesome.
Next. But I really think that that's going to be it. And within that then, too, we, maybe that leads to when you realize that like the connection between accountability and responsibility. Like, it's like, well, things can't just be given.
Yeah, well, that's kind of like accountability is after the fact, responsibility is before.
Yeah.
Right.
So we need to, so I wonder, dude, though, is that the way it almost goes, is like, because we're able to hold everybody accountable, now you've got to be responsible because,
and that's where we would have been. I would argue somewhere back in time before whatever happened, is that we were able to hold each other accountable, and we did. And we had personal responsibility, and we went, that's why when, what stimulated this.
And that would be society, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's how society grows, because it was a
tribe. Simple, manageable. No, I get it. It's at some level, it's a numbers problem. It's way easier to do this with 25 people than it is with 8 billion.
Yep.
But that's no excuse, right? That's like saying, throw your hands up in the air and just be free for all. Why do any of it? That's why I think back to this time of how did probably primates, but maybe even before primates, how did we deal with that massive complaint of males just wanting to reproduce with everything and having testosterone and size and energy and all this stuff, and then females not? How did that, at what point in time did that not end up being just a rape fest? Because that would have perpetuated populations too. All the males just are rampantly raping everything, and they're wounded females everywhere giving birth and having more, and just this big. Did that happen, or did it not happen? Either way, it's not that way now.
Yep.
And so these norms and stuff, we stepped up and took care of this kind of thing. And I'm not comparing massive, open raping to, capitalism, but kind of, societal norms and rules, and we had to do the same process. We decided it's important to do it this. We have to come up with responsibility and accountability and all this other norms to keep people in line, in order to prevent that from happening. It's just fundamental. I don't know. What is that? What discipline is that? Sociology? It's just basic.
Well, probably because, so what happened, right? Because, so if one person, male, most likely is dominating over others,
right,
the way that was stopped was by forming groups.
Probably,
right?
Yeah.
So then the individuals, and this would be so complicated of how this would grow.
Well, it could happen
over
so many
time.
different ways too. We'll never know.
Yeah. And so, but that's how then the small group, the tribe, the clan, right, grew, and then that had rules, even if they didn't have them written down, right? They probably didn't have them written down. Well, that's how the Ten Commandments got written, actually, right? They kept coming to them hey, what should we do about this?
Yeah.
Hey, what should we do about this? Hey, what about this one? All right, here's the things we do. Here's the 10.
But how
Dudes,
come?
stop asking. Here's the 10.
But see, I refuse to believe that didn't happen until we had language and tools 2,000 years ago, right? What was going on the preceding 198,000 years?
Oh, they had them all, but that's what I mean.
Without any language,
Yep.
I mean, it ain't rocket science.
Yep.
What I think happened again, I don't know, was that one guy was just too tough and everybody else was too meek, and they were just like, well, let's concede. Or that he was providing something to be like, no, you got to let me rape everybody because I've got whatever. But I really struggle with that being a gradual evolutionary process and not some like just mistake of evolution of oh crap, what just happened. and you know what really stimulated this was Hawaii. How can something so like the way that all of the Indonesian islands were sort of settled and the theories of how that happened, and a lot of it was war.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people were kingdoms or whatever became great by killing other tribes or taking them over and making slaves, and that whole thing. It's like that wasn't right, and I think a lot of people knew it wasn't right, but it happened, and so why?
Right.
And why do we still do it? and the argument again goes back to, well, people are just evil. People are inherently evil, and that's why. But I don't believe that, and that creates a real need to defend my position and sort of say the only way that evil is possible is by mistake, or as a result of some missed opportunity. You know, there was no technology. That village died from polio because we didn't understand polio.
Mm-hmm.
That empire formed because we didn't understand that we had to prevent violence at the very beginning when that kid was 4 years old or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah. So, well, right. And the evil always just seems to me, it's a pattern of behavior. And that's the thing that we can control.
Right. Well,
that's what we can control is our behavior.
And that's what
really
norms
get
are
into
for.
it. Yeah.
That's for when people like get out of the boundaries of these agreed upon, ideally global worldviews. You go, don't do that, but let's figure this out. Maybe this is a new thing that we need to consider. Like the council, the government, right? That was the seed of government. Was the people that the village deemed able? They had whatever characteristics that were like, we want you to decide this for us because. Which imagine what those people look like. What are the characteristics of the first people who were like selected leaders versus any politician that you can think of? Did those people originally like?
Well, it's probably like the shaman, right?
They were probably like effeminate males or like females, probably women. Now that's my going back to the rape scene. I think that was all the women going, all right, y'all, this has got to stop. What do we do?
Yep.
And then they went, look, we have the babies. We make life. You don't. And they went, oh.
Yeah.
And then the hierarchy began. And then it was like, oh, okay, we got to treat you guys better. Because you have all the magic power. Right.
I
don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it would have switched through the years.
And that's probably related to what happened was we went patriarchal instead of matriarchal because some dude was sick of... And really, don't we see that? And how do we study the past? We look at today. What I see around us today is a bunch of men that are scared to death of losing what little power they have. And so they spend their whole lives desperate to protect this power because they're so terrified of what might happen, and we don't even know we're doing it anymore. Sure. And so you create this patriarchy, and you make new and more rules to make sure that nobody can touch you, and you don't actually have to deal with any of these historical problems, which is the same thing. I would say that's probably what was going on 50,000 years ago as well, because we don't really change that much, right?
Well, yeah.
So if there's any insight into our past, that's what I do. I go, well, what do we see now? Like, isn't it the same basic stuff? That's why I like this idea of like a Darwinian approach Well, what does evolution or the state of biology tell us, and how can we use that fundamental set of rules to like apply to any space and time to say, well, this is probably still the basic set of governing forces that are acting that haven't changed in perpetuity. And so if we accept that as our assumption base and everything must fit into that mold, now how do we explain things? I don't know if that's a good way of doing it or not, but it's not haphazard and random. Does that make sense? I'm saving that up.
Yeah.
What's going on inside?
Yeah, well, we got a lot here covered. I'm not sure what this show was about, but it was about a lot of things.
Well, I was kind of thinking we could split it into two, given that we've gone so far down other tangents.
Yeah.
It seemed like there was a logical, but I don't know how much time we actually have.
Well,
see, it's only an hour and 20.
Yeah, well, there we go.
So,
all right.
It's
Well,
probably the length of it.
all right. So, episode whatever, 15, 14.
Yeah, and we'll pick up on some of those.
Yeah, I don't even know where we go next, dude. Though, because that's like, I'm not sure where we went.
Well, and I think that's probably partly me.
No, dude. Yeah, I think we're good.